Hello, St. Luke Parish family. As we continue through Lent, many of us take on the practice of spiritual reading, right? It's a good thing to do. Maybe reading scripture more intentionally, picking up a spiritual classic, or even diving deeper into Catholic teachings. But a question I often hear is, how do I know if a Catholic book is trustworthy? How do I know if it's even Catholic to begin with? Well, you may have noticed that some Catholic books contain phrases. If you you have the cover page of the book, then you turn to the back of that cover page. Usually they have words like Nihil Obstat or Imprimatur or Imprimi Potest. Now, these aren't just fancy Latin words. They are fancy Latin words, but they're part of the church's process for safeguarding the faith, right? So let me briefly explain them to you. So first is Nihil Obstat, which means nothing stands in the way. Right? This declaration is given by a theological reviewer, someone who looks at the book, reads it. It's often called a censor, who carefully examines the text and determines that it contains no doctrinal error. Right? There's no errors in doctrine. In other words, nothing in the work contradicts Catholic teaching. So that's Nihil Obstat. The second step is Imprimatur, which means let it be printed, right? Imprimatur. This approval is granted by a bishop, right? So it's after the Nihil Obstat has been given. So the bishop is essentially saying that the work may be published and distributed to the faithful because it's free from doctrinal error. It is important to note that this is not necessarily an endorsement of every opinion in the book, but it's confirming that it does not contradict the faith of the church. Now, third term, you may occasionally see it's Imprimi Potest, which means it can be printed, very similar to the one before, right? But the only difference is it's granted not by a bishop, but by a religious superior, when the author of this book is a member of a religious order like Dominican, Jesuit, Franciscan, that sort of thing. So the superior gives permission for the work to be published before it moves forward in the approval process. Now, why does this matter? Because the church cares deeply about protecting the integrity of the gospel, right? When we read good Catholic works, especially during seasons of Lent, like right now, we want to be formed by sources that are faithful to the truth that is being handed on through the church. Of course, the greatest spiritual reading we can do is always sacred scripture, especially Catholic scripture. But there are also many beautiful Catholic authors, saints, spiritual teachers who help illuminate the faith. So as you continue on your Lenten journey through prayer, through fasting, through almsgiving, I encourage you to also include in there some good spiritual reading. Feed your mind with truth. Feed your heart with wisdom from the saints. And allow the Lord to continue forming you into a missionary disciple with a heart on fire for the risen Lord. Can't wait to see you this Sunday, and make good choices. God bless.